Today we're going to be talking about the man that has been conquering the internet and is now no longer a part of it, at least for now, Andrew Tate, but not in the light that you've likely seen from other videos. I'm not going to come out with this opinion piece on whether I think he's morally right or wrong, largely because that literally doesn't matter at all. If you have an opinion on this man, as you can tell, no matter how many times you call him a sexist or alpha male or red pill or whatever you want to call him, he is not going anywhere. At this time, he has been canceled by all the major social media platforms, but he's already gotten started on Rumble and other locations, and he is growing a following very quickly.
Do I look canceled?
So if you don't like Andrew Tate, make sure you especially watch today's video because you're going to learn how to use his own tactics and fight fire with fire so that you can take attention back away from him. I'm not going to be like that. I'm also not going to be up talking Andrew Tate in this video because this is just to analyze 7 different conversational techniques that he uses in debates to really control the conversation, and also things that he does to really pierce through the matrix and go viral online. But I just want to say something for Andrew Tate would be, you can have a negative opinion on him, but just make sure it's not one that was given to you by a YouTube Clips channel. Make sure it's one that you've actually derived for yourself by watching his full-length interviews. And then if you still hate him, then hey, by all means. So let's get right into the tactics today. The first one we're going to be talking about is his use of the phrase, my friend.
Maybe you have all the fucking time in the world to sit on the internet, my friend. Let me tell you something, my friend, I'll let you talk afterwards. Cool. If you believe everything that's on Google, that is your prerogative, my friend. You're welcome to visit anytime, friend.
Hell yeah. Maybe I'll take you up on that.
The time that he says it is almost always in the heat of a debate. And there's 2 reasons why I feel like he does this. The first one is to disarm his opponent in a way by acknowledging, hey, my friend, I come in peace. We are having a debate, but this is a friendly debate. And I'm not trying to get on the level of saying insults, because what a lot of people would do there instead of my friend is they would put an insult, and then the conversation just gets completely derailed. The other reason why I think he does this is to calm himself down. A lot of times he'll be arguing with people that are really not making very good points, and it would be very easy for him to just get really emotional, get really mad at him, and just start name calling. But by him saying that, it also kind of levels himself out. That's my best impression of it. So maybe you can use the phrase, my friend, if you ever feel yourself getting heated in an argument or whatever works well for your personality, but just that same psychology of acknowledging that you're still friends in the heat of an argument can bring down the tone of the conversation. The second tactic we're going to talk about is how he speaks in black and white. Now, what I mean by this is when Andrew comes out and says a statement, he rarely gives all these little gray space to how his statement is not fully true and there's exceptions to it.
When I make a statement, maybe you do. Maybe you have all the fucking time in the world to sit on the internet, my friend. But when I make a statement, I don't have time to say, in my personal experience, I don't believe women can drive. However, I understand that some women can drive, and I'm not saying all women can't drive, and I know women who can drive, but in my personal experience, the bad driving I've seen was most likely committed by women. That I don't talk like a fucking geek. I say women can't drive. Now, if that upsets geeks like you, cool, whatever. Because geeks, I don't give a fuck. That's what I say. If it upsets people, tough. That's my personal experience. You're gonna have to get the fuck over it. That's life. And if you want to say I'm a bad communicator, once again, that's your prerogative. But I would disagree. I think I'm very good at communicating. That's the only reason I'm even fucking here. It's the only reason I'm even on the internet. It's because when I talk, people listen. So I must be doing something right.
It makes it easier for him to get comments from people who disagree with him because he says it in a way that there are no exceptions apart from how I said it. And he even says in that clip there that he does it because it's not entertaining anymore. So although he could be a lot more politically correct, you also probably wouldn't even know who Andrew Tate was if he was being that. Now, this is a tactic that's not for the faint of heart to apply. Obviously, you're going to get a lot more comments and a lot more negative comments, but I've also done some rant videos, especially on like some crypto coins in the past that I thought were going to crash, and I just went full ham on the this is a horrible project. I didn't leave any room for how they were doing well at all, and those got the most comments by far. So if you're willing to take the heat, it can be a good way to go viral, but of course do it at your own risk because you can see the natural implications that would go along with doing this style. The third tactic we're going to be talking about is answering in the gray. So although I said he likes to speak in the black and white to get his content to go totally viral, sometimes he'll be asked a question, and in order to kind of question dodge, this would be something like a politician would do, he answers in the gray. So here's an example.
No, I would not see Andrew again. Do I look like I'm going to see him again?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man.
Actually, no, I will. Do you know what? I will see him again because I'm going to prove my point that men need women as friends. How about that?
This was kind of a trick question because if he was asked, would you see Cheyenne again? If he says no, then he looks like an asshole. And if he says yes, then he might look like a simp in a way, like she had totally converted him to her way of thinking in that argument. He's not really trying to show that, although he is empathetic towards other people's views, and they did agree a lot in that interview. He is not ultimately trying to show that she won, right? So instead of answering the question to would you see Cheyenne again and saying yes or no, where both were kind of a trap, he just said, hey, I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man. And this was answering in the gray. So I didn't clip out some other examples, although if you watch for it, you might catch it from here. But this could be a good way if you're in a debate to potentially get out of it. I could imagine that if you make it too obvious that you're trying to question dodge, that they're just going to pinpoint you on that. I just thought this was interesting because it really was like the most sly response he could have said. Number 4, the use of analogies. So I'm going to give pros and cons to this because I've also seen these not work out well for him. The key that Andrew has with his analogies is having these well made in advance. And you can tell by the way he speaks about them, how quickly he delivers them without any kind of pauses, that he's said these analogies before, they're well thought out, and he's prepared to deliver them. So part of his conversational tactics is the amount of preparation he puts into these interviews. And that's not something he'll probably talk about or you'll see, but in order to speak as clearly as he does, he really does need to be practicing this, or he's said it over and over. And if you watched a lot of his interviews, you've heard that he uses a lot of the same examples. So what I'd recommend for those of you trying to adapt this tactic is make sure you have examples and analogies for everything that you want to say out there. Now, the thing about an analogy is that it's a comparison of two unrelated things, but it is also one of the quickest ways to get someone to understand something. For instance, the other day I saw an ad on the Instagram feed that was for a wallet. And rather than this ad saying it's the most sleek wallet and hold this many cards and there's a warranty, it literally just said the Tesla of wallets. And I'm someone who has a positive association with Tesla, unlike Andrew Tate.
I don't like electric cars. Anyone who buys a Tesla isn't a real man. Any man with a Tesla, I could kick the living fuck out of.
But that was a very great way to just sell me the wallet really quickly. I used to be in sales for over 7 years, and we sold knives. And one of the things we'd say, I mean, you kind of read the customer based off of what they liked. So if they were into golf, you would say, these are the Callaway of knives. If they were into cars, you'd say, this is the Aston Martin of knives. This is the Rolex of knives. And that comparison or that analogy would be one of the quickest ways to get someone super impressed by the product. You just take something that they already have a positive association with and make an analogy. So that's why it's really effective. However, because an analogy is comparing two unrelated things, there's also a fallacy in itself that we're comparing two completely unrelated things. And even though you can make sense of it sometimes, it might not always be your best explanation. In his interview on the BFFs pod, he was trying to make an analogy, but Dave chose to get offended by the analogy in itself. I do think his analogy wasn't that bad. Like when you played it out in full, which is a little bit more than the clip I'm about to show you.
So it's a Western phenomenon, right? It depends where you go. It depends. And this whole idea of this obsession with equality is a truly Western thing. And I don't think it's particularly healthy or important. I don't look at a woman thinking, is she my equal? Is she below me? Is she above me? I don't do that. I sit with a woman and we either enjoy each other's company or we don't. But I know my roles as a man. I believe that as a man, I should pay for the first date. I believe I should open the car door. I believe I should protect for her, provide for her. I believe if she's my woman, she should be able to come to me with her problems and I should fix them. That makes me a sexist and a horrible person, fine.
It doesn't. I agree with everything you just said, but I also think
by extension,
she can have a higher IQ than me.
Okay, so by extension, right? Because this is what happens. You agree with the baseline. Everyone agrees with the foundations of what I say, but when I build on top of it, they try and pretend it's sexist. By extension, if I have authority over her, if I have responsibility over her, I apologize. If I have responsibility, which I have, I'm paying for things, I'm making sure she's safe, I'm driving her, I'm taking out the car, etc. If I have responsibility over her, then I must have a degree of authority. For the same reason, if I have responsibility over, and everyone's going to lose their mind, it's an example, it's only an analogy. If I have responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. You cannot be responsible for something that doesn't listen to you. You can't be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you, or a child if it doesn't obey you, or a woman that doesn't obey you.
The super sexist path.
It's not sexist to say I'm responsible for her.
If you compared a woman to a dog and a baby.
Yeah, and I knew that was going to be. That's why I said everyone's going to lose their mind. It's just
maybe pick some better ones then if you want the women to listen to you.
Then I can't be responsible. Then cool. Let's take a beautiful sports car. It doesn't matter. A house, land, whatever. Well, if I have a woman and I'm responsible for her, which I want to be because it's my masculine imperative, I need some degree of authority. If I'm responsible for her safety, I need to be able to say, no, you're not walking home alone at night.
Well, you get to a point, I would think, where there's mutual respect. So there isn't like the authority. It's a give and take on a healthy relationship.
Correct. A healthy relationship has mutual respect. So in a healthy relationship, the man will say X and the woman will say, yeah, I agree with that. Okay, I won't do it. I'm not saying it has to be a command orders. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if a man's responsible, he should have an authority. And if a woman is responsible, she should have authority. There are relationships in the world today where the woman has to tell the man to stop playing video games, stop smoking weed, get up and go to the gym, stop being a piece of shit. Then she has responsibility over him. She's basically his mother. She has absolute authority in that household. He should obey every word. She should obey every word she says because he's a jackass.
But because he's trying to, in this example, compare women to babies or cars, it's just very easy for whoever you're debating with to say, hey, you can't compare women to babies. But I mean, at the same time, an analogy is a comparison of two unrelated things. So I'm not sure what he could compare women to in this case that they would see beyond trying to just diffuse his argument by saying, hey, you can't compare a woman to that. So in this case, he couldn't really win with his use of an analogy. So there's pros and cons to it, but it can be used very effectively. The fifth tactic is how he never uses depreciating humor. So obviously I don't have a clip for this because I'm talking about something that he doesn't do. You'll rarely watch someone for a long period of time that is trying to relate to the masses that doesn't use depreciating humor to do it. And I think it's something that's really propelled in our society where, hey, if you can find a way to kind of knock yourself, then other people will relate to you more because if they're kind of self-conscious, as most people are, they'll recognize themselves and you're self-conscious, and then you guys can bond over not having the best thoughts on yourself. It makes sense, but also it's not ultimately how you want to be relating to other people and making them think that it's okay to talk like that to themselves. So I don't know if there's really a ton of tactics to this, or if he really just is this confident that it never even slips his mind to use depreciating humor. But I think it's something that I've gone back and forth on because I am a funny guy. I like to make jokes when I'm out with friends, but it honestly doesn't come out right for me, and it's not really my character because I like to be a very confident guy, or at least think I am, but hey, I do all right. And the depreciating humor just doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. So it's just something that I picked up from him, and I'm going to try to avoid doing depreciating humor from here and see if I like that approach better overall. The sixth one is that you genuinely can't cancel this man.
I just made a joke. There. Oh no, cancel me. Who gives a fuck? That's what they can do. They can come along and cancel you. And everyone they've canceled so far ended up canceled. So they thought they could cancel the top G. It's the weapon that always works. They fired the bullet that never fails. It bounced off of my skin. And here I am. I still emerge more powerful than ever before.
Do I look canceled?
From what I can see, we have 70,000 people watching us. I don't feel canceled. Do you feel canceled?
Well, isn't that triple the number of our largest ever stream up until this point?
He also is successful outside of his personal brand image. I did have a successful company, e-commerce company, before I started teaching social media marketing. But right now, this is my main income stream. So to get canceled, lose my Instagram account, which did happen. I got it back a month later though, but it was a scary time. If I lost my podcast, lost my YouTube, they would all be a significant hit to my income. And it makes it so I might not cuss on these videos as much as I might naturally want to. I'm going to keep it a little bit more neutral and abide by the policies, which is really not that big of a deal. But at the same time, it's not how Tate works. The fact that he is not able to be fully and permanently canceled, and he knows that, he is okay with taking all the heat. Everyone is out to get them. They're trying to frame him as negatively as possible, and a bunch of channels have made their entire work over the last few months here just to negatively frame Tate as much as they can. And here he is still not canceled, right? Because he would actually have to be a real criminal. I know he's been accused of things. They've all been proven false. But if he had some real big allegations against him right now, only he could cancel himself. People that are afraid of getting canceled can't speak in the black and white like he does. The fact that he's just not cancelable when he started online because he has so much success and money outside of his personal brand, that was the enabler to really allow him to become a lot of these things. Tactic number 7, everything is chess.
Police come and the police officer said, "So what's your job?" My dad said, "I'm a chess player." The police officer said, "Chess player? Maybe you should be something else." And my dad replied, "My unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor." The police officer was like, okay.
Now, when I say everything, I mean everything. Not just in his conversations of how he tries to say something to cause a reaction, to then say something and cause a reaction, and then set himself up to then make the other person kind of run into his point or to even prove his point is often what happens in his conversations. But he applies this to everything. And in fact, right now, he got banned in the last week. I actually think this was planned. So he has been banned from Twitter however many times, and YouTube denied him his plaque. Like, he's already had enough warning signs to know that the chances of him getting banned were pretty high. I don't think he planned to get banned from every social media platform at the same time as if it was a collaborative effort, which is kind of weird. And you might be thinking, why was this beneficial for him to get banned? Well, one way is that now he's moving everyone onto this other platform where he's just going to face less censorship overall. And the other one is because people who are looking to still keep up with Andrew Tate are probably now looking at his Hustlers University in the War Room. If they can't get a lot of his content just for free, now they're forced to pay for it to be within his actual audiences. So I think this ultimately was part of the plan. I don't think he knew the timing or the magnitude that he would be canceled from these platforms, but I'm pretty sure that if you asked Tate in the last year, are you going to eventually have your Instagram, Facebook, all of that removed? He'd probably guess yes, just knowing how the world works. So think about that with everything he's doing right now. All these things that are coming as negative setbacks are potentially all set up by him. And if you think of your life like that, as if you're playing chess, it's going to be a lot easier for you to win. A lot of people are just focused on, oh, I'm going to move my pawn here, and then on my next move, I'll use the pawn to attack his knight. But they're forgetting that the other person gets a move in between, that life gets to move in between that time. So you might move your pawn, then the knight moves away, and then you move your pawn again, and then your pawn gets destroyed. This is, an analogy you're going to have to be forced to try to apply to your life, but it could be in relationships. Things you say cause reactions and put you in a certain spot, and careers, things you say to your boss. All of these things are saying something to cause a reaction, and then you're going to have these life events play out. But if you only look at just 1 or 2 steps ahead, you're not going to be nearly as prepared as those who can look multiple steps ahead. And it's hard to think that this was not intentional and his next 10 steps aren't well planned as well, even though us as the general public are just going to have to watch the show, which is just another reason that makes it so we have to watch him. He's not telling us everything. He's just saying, prepare for phase 2, and then we'll have phase 3. There's a lot of reasons to keep watching him, whether you like him or not. He is putting on a very interesting show. And I will say, as someone who's a proponent of freedom of speech, that I do believe this ban was excessive. And if you think it's good, then make sure you smash that dislike button, report this channel, and cancel me, baby. Bring it on. Comment if you got some value, though. Appreciate you watching.